What up, dude bros? I'm Frank. This is a video review of the Nerf Overwatch McCree blaster. This blaster by Nerf is inspired by the Overwatch character McCree. It's a single-shot spring blaster with a pretty cool revolver-style loading system. Let's get into the review. Included is the blaster, a prop badge, 6 gray rival rounds, and the instructions. External overview starting up at the front. Being a rival blaster, of course, there's no in-strike attachment lug for the barrel, so you cannot attach your other barrel extensions up front. Right here is the priming handle. This is a spring-powered blaster. That's how you prime it. And if that looked weird, it's because it is weird. This is the weirdest priming handle I've ever seen on a Nerf blaster. The amount of surface area you can touch up here is very limited, and it's just almost designed to annoy you. The easiest way I've found to prime is to push back on the system right there, but it's still difficult when you have sweaty palms. And I'm not talking about like dripping wet, just a little moist and your hand slides off the priming handle, then you can't shoot it, which, blah. So definitely not based around ergonomics there. I think that's to stay true to the model in the video game. But as you prime back the blaster, you eject the cylinder out the side, which exposes your loading chamber, and that's actually the barrel. So you get one of your rival rounds and you just place it into there. And you don't shut the cylinder or like whip it in like a cowboy. You have to push the priming handle forward and that shuts it. You prime back, hand load one round, and then shut the priming handle. Now you're ready to fire once. This loading system is pretty interesting. It's pretty much a breech. When you prime, it ejects out the breech opening, and that allows you to load in your ammo, but it's not a super picky breech, so you can actually load in 2 or even 3 rival rounds into the little chamber and then shotgun fire. And Nerf didn't put in any locks or sensors that make that difficult. If you want to load in 2 or 3, you totally can, and there's nothing to stop you. Of course, your performance is drastically decreased, but if someone's super close to you, it would be kind of funny to launch 3 balls instead of 1, right? There's a time and a place for the tactical shotgun load. But that's it for the loading system. Now down to the trigger. The trigger release is pretty standard. Of course, this blaster does not have slam fire. And up in the top here, we have the hammer, which you can manually prime back like that, and it can click on its own. In an actual Nerf war, that is completely pointless, but if you're around other people that is a little too loud for, because that is a little annoying, this is a much quieter version of that. To be clear, that is not a way to prime the blaster at all. That is just to make that little clicking sound. Like that. Moving down to the grip, it's a goofy looking grip, but it's surprisingly comfortable. I mean, it's not my favorite grip, but it definitely works given the ergonomics and the balance of the blaster. I'm an adult with a very long hand. My hand fits on there just fine. It'll work fine for a smaller hand, and even a larger, specifically a fatter hand would fit on there just fine. And on the bottom of the grip, we have the little spur wheel, which spins freely like that. And the material here is like a rubberized plastic. It's rigid on its own, but if you push on it, it does flex. It's definitely not a melee safe toy, so you can't strike somebody with it. It is like hitting them with plastic. So don't do that. That's a safety hazard. But it will flex, so if you drop the blaster on a hard surface, it'll flex a little bit instead of cracking and looking silly. And that is the grip. On the underside of the blaster right here, we have the trigger safety and the unjamming button. In the rear position, the trigger is safe, so you cannot press it. And then when you click it hot, now you're on and able to fire. And that is the trigger safety. Behind that is the unjamming button. After you prime this blaster, you're not able to prime it again, but sometimes if you have a particular type of jam with a Nerf blaster, you have to manually prime back again. So that's essentially an override button, which allows you to press that and manually reprime again. With other blasters, that allows you to shotgun load, but because you can already shotgun load, there's no tactical advantage to using this button. I would only recommend using it for an actual unjamming button. Use buttons for only what they're intended for? What have I become? That is an external overview of the McCree blaster. Long overview, considering how simple it is, but that loading mechanism is unique and pretty cool. But enough on that. Also included was this little badge. This has no Nerf application whatsoever. It's only a prop type of thing. It's a badge. I assume that's a McCree badge, like whatever sheriff he kind of worked for. I personally don't play Overwatch, so I can't comment on the design or how accurate it is or whatever, but it's made out of metal, which kind of surprises me. I mean, it makes cool noises when you drop it, and if you attach it to like a costume, it kind of sags. I mean, it's heavy. I'm gonna throw it again. Sweaty palms, this is what I'm talking about. So it doesn't feel like a super cheap plastic badge if you're a cosplay guy. That might be important to you. The little clip in the back is plastic though, which allows it to flex so you can slide it on to be the McCree sheriff, if he's a sheriff. Hopefully he's a sheriff, otherwise that's impersonating an officer, which is a felony. Yeah, he's not real. He's in a video game, not in a United States jurisdiction. Whatevs. But the badge itself is metal, so it's pretty heavy, and then a plastic clip. Yeah, that's what it is. So that's an overview of the blaster itself and the little badge. Let's see this blaster out on the range. Shooting yellow Nerf rival rounds. Shotgun loading 2 at a time. Operating the McCree blaster is pretty fun. Now, like I said, as a performance nerfer, it's super slow in rate of fire, and it really is annoying if you want to fire fast because it won't let you. I mean, it's just so much like input to fire off just one round. But if you're not a competitive nerfer and you're just shooting just for fun, it is a fun mechanism to use, which is kind of a new perspective to share on my channel. I'm usually all about the performance or all about the tactics. This is just a fun little gadget to plink around with. One comment on the loading of the blaster, which does affect performance. This barrel right here, or where you load in your ammo, is tapered. So if you load a ball just in the end, or if you shove it all the way back, you can manipulate your performance. Because that's not a mechanized jig that's automatically loading every round, the human variable here can change the performance of the blaster so it can shoot much softer or much harder depending on how you're loading it. I mentioned that because I was trying to be as consistent as I could, but even then my chrono results were just all over the place. I ended up averaging 74 feet per second with Nerf rival rounds, which is considerably below the rival par of about 90 to 100 FPS. So it's shooting a little soft, but some of the rounds were shooting 85 to 90 FPS, but then some of them shot like 55. So it's not a very consistent blaster because of this human loading system here. Or more accurately, a loading system which is susceptible to human variation. So I had a pretty drastic range in the performance of the blaster. Other than that, I didn't have any jams or malfunctions, but because of that inconsistency, it would really make it difficult to line up your shot. If it's going to shoot 55 FPS or 90 FPS, that really changes at what angle you want to put the barrel to lob the dart in or the ball to hit your target. But I did not have any mechanical jams or malfunctions that I had to clear out or anything. That is all of the objective information on the Overwatch McCree blaster. Now to my personal opinion. Overall, I enjoyed using the blaster. I did not have any jams or malfunctions, and honestly, it was a pleasure to use in itself rather than as a tool to shoot ammo. Just the act of shooting was pretty fun in a way that I don't experience often in this hobby. So I thought it was an interesting experience. That being said, if you're a performance nerfer in any capacity, if somebody's shooting at you, this would be a super annoying blaster to use. If you have sweaty palms at all, you won't be able to prime the blaster at times because this priming handle doesn't have enough surface area or a hard ledge to grip. You'll end up sliding your hand off while you're getting shot at, and that would just be infuriating. Furthermore, the rate of fire is extremely low. Even if you have dry palms and you're going really fast, it's a single shot blaster that's about the same size as a Chronos, and a Chronos has a 5-round capacity that you can shoot off continuous 5 shots. So if you're a competitor, I would definitely recommend the Chronos for what, $15 US. This thing retails for about $40 US. This is specifically tailored to the Overwatch fans. If you're just a nerfer and you don't care at all about Overwatch, I would not recommend this blaster. But if you're an Overwatch fan and you're not getting shot at and you just want to have fun with a Nerf blaster, this is a fun blaster to use. The chambering system is unique in our hobby and it's pretty fun to use, and it allows you to shoot 1, 2, or 3 rounds. And the profile of the blaster looks super cool. I like the little spur thing and this little clicky thing. I mean, that's a nice alternative to the noise of dry firing, which is abrasive. And I was like, pew pew. So a blaster that's definitely out of my comfort zone. It pushes far towards the prop side of that spectrum. It's not a performance-based blaster or for a nerfer. It's specifically for Overwatch fans that want a Nerf blaster, or from nerfers who are somewhat interested in Overwatch. I don't know. But for what they were trying to do, I think it's a well-executed blaster. It's well made, no jams or malfunctions, and it looks super cool. So hopefully I've laid out my opinion in a way that's easy for you to understand there. If you're interested in purchasing this, I'll leave a buy link in the description box below. That concludes this video review. Thanks so much for watching, bros, and as always, stay tactical.